Christopher Bodell, I'm from SAS Institute. It's not the airline. It's 14,000 people globally. We're passionate about analytics and analytics software and what it can do for businesses like yours. Today I'm going to talk about sports and how analytics is changing the world of sports. And so why is that? Why is analytics coming into sports? Why are sports organizations embracing analytics? And for those of you who've seen the movie Moneyball or read the book, maybe this is a no-brainer question. Maybe you think that's like, it's obvious. Everybody should be doing this all the time. And for those of you who haven't seen it, let's just take a quick look, 20 seconds of what that was all about.
For $41 million, you built a playoff team. You lost Damon, Giambi, Isringhausen, Pena, and you won more games without them than you did with them. You won the exact same number of games that the Yankees won, but the Yankees spent $1.4 million per win, and you paid $260,000.
So that end line, $1.4 million or $260,000 for the same result. That's a no-brainer, right? This baseball team managed to find players for less money that delivered a performance that in the end gave a result that was much higher than the others did. Great story. Now, still I find that when I'm using this and talking about it as a metaphor or with sports teams, there's still people that like, yeah, right, but you know, we're different or we're this and we're that. So it's a lot about the mindset thing. So I want to give you a couple more examples. This is Ben Hunt Davis, that's his name. He's part of the British Olympic rowing team, or he was. And you may wonder, what does that have to do with analytics? After all, rowing, how hard can it be? All you have to do is pull that oar as many times as possible, as fast as possible, and do it as many times as you can. And after 2,000 meters, if you do that, the most you're going to win, right? Rowing, how hard can it be? 8 guys in a boat and 1 steering. So Ben said, you know, and these guys practiced viciously. He said, we just did that. For years, we practiced ruthlessly, 49 weeks of the year, up to 21 times a week, practicing. And he said, we delivered very consistent results. We finished 6th or 7th or 8th in every single international competition for 7 years straight. So he said, we've got 3 options. We can either, you know, keep doing the same thing and get the same result, or we can just quit and say, hey, we're not good enough. We can't do this. Or we can take a step back and try to look at our performance and understand our performance and analyze it and figure out the effect that it has on the end result. We know the results. It's easy. We're 6th, 7th, or 8th. But our performance, what is that we're doing? So they started to measure ruthlessly everything they did. Every training, every evening they went to sleep, when they got up, they measured everything, and they asked themselves one question with everything they did. Will it make the boat go faster? And if it did, they kept to it, and if it didn't, they didn't. So they changed a lot of things, and he said when we analyzed performance to understand the results, when we were at the starting line at the Olympics in Sydney, we had the youngest, the least experienced, the least fit team, but 2,000 meters later, we were the first to cross the goal line because they understood through analytics the performance and what effect it had on the results. Here's another example. This is Niklas Lidstrom, or Nick Lidstrom as he's called. He's out of all the successful players we've had in this country, this guy's the best. We may not think so over here, but if you go to North America and you talk about Nick Lidstrom, he's a legend. He's Olympic champion, he's world champion, he's got 4 Stanley Cups. He's the first European to be captain of a team to win a Stanley Cup. 7 times he was voted the best defenseman in the NHL. And when he was playing hockey, the people were just looking at him thinking, what is it with this guy? He's not the fastest skater. He's not the most technical. He's not the strongest. He's not the best shooter. It's magic. And they said, this guy, he's got something that nobody else has. It's intangible. You can't touch it. You have it or you don't. You're born with it or you're not. And everybody during his career just said, amazing. And not until at the end of his career, there were 2 PhDs in Gothenburg, where I live, that took a look at what is he really doing on the ice. So they started analyzing. They looked at a lot of games, and they checked, and they started to categorize and measure how is he acting in different situations. And real soon they saw, this guy is playing a different game. He's playing different than all the other players. And they realized that what he's doing, he's broken the whole game of hockey into separate game plans, separate plays. And he's optimized based on counting the odds on what is the best way to act in every single situation. So he does analytics on the side. So when he goes on the ice and he's playing 1-on-2, one defenseman, two attackers, he knows over time what are the best odds. What is the way I should act over time? It doesn't work every time, but this is analytics. Over time, if you do it consistently, the odds are better and you will perform a better result. So these guys thought, they even wrote, started writing a scientific article about this, and they thought, we got to call him. So they call Niklas Lidstrom in Västerås. They go and sit with a conference room with him. And they thought, he's going to think we're crazy. Here are we, 2 PhDs in financial mathematics, and we're going to tell the world's best hockey player how he figured out to play the way he did. So they're sitting on this side, and Niklas is sitting on that side, and they started to lay out their, the way they've been looking at it and what they've been thinking. And Niklas sits there, he sits there listening, and then he says, when they're done, you're playing on the odds, you're playing on an algorithm, you figured it out, and you know how to act in every situation. 1-on-2, 2-on-3, 3-on-4, dump in the corner, dump behind the net. He sits there and listens real calm, and he says, yeah, that's how I did it. I knew I wasn't the best at everything. I just had to figure out the best odds of playing every single situation. And then Carl Lindberg, one of the PhDs, says, so hasn't anybody asked you this before? And Niklas said, no, Carl, you're the first one. You played his whole career, and it was magic. It was intangible. You couldn't touch it. And these guys figured out, you're playing on the odds. You've got an algorithm-based way of playing. So they ended up writing this article, and there are 3 authors, Carl Lindberg, Jan Lennartsson, and Niklas Lidström. And it's on the internet. You can find it. And I can tell you what it's all about. It's really about understanding your performance and how it relates to the end results. That's what analytics is about, and that's what he did. Now, so analytics is in sports so you can win, right? Yes. But I would want to say this. There's an even more important aspect of using analytics in sports, and that's when you're losing. You know what happens when you lose? Everybody knows what you should change. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody knows who should be hired, who should be fired, who should be benched, who should be playing with whom, what kind of game should you play, what don't you have enough of, what you should have more of, all those sort of things. Media, fans, sponsors, everybody knows, right? If you're not standing on analytics, your team is going to fall over. I know of at least 2 teams that ended up in this situation and it just fell apart. But I know one team that has had a losing season all along, and one of the assistant coaches said, if we hadn't stood on understanding our performance and how that related to the results, if we would have looked just at the results, we would have been dead. We would have fallen over for a long time ago. So really, to sum it up, why is analytics important in sports? It's because you can always measure the results, right or wrong. You win or you lose. That's reporting. Analytics will give you the correlation between the two. So it's easy if you have the right performance, you have the right result. Say we shoot 100 shots on you and you shoot nothing on us. We win. Easy. You shoot 100 shots on us and we don't have a single shot. We lose. Easy, right? The tricky ones are the other ones. What if you lose? What are you going to do? What do you understand? When you have the right performance through analytics, we did the right thing. This time we lost, but over time, on the odds, we're going to win more than we're going to lose. That is okay. And the same thing is true when you win and you analyze the performance, you see this is not going to yield us the right results over time. This is what it's all about. This is the difference between reporting and analytics. Reporting gives you the results. Analytics gives you an understanding of the performance and how it relates to results in the end. So that's really why. Let's just talk a little bit then about how. And we've already touched a lot on this morning. I've made a lot of good things. I'll just give you a few things there that I think and that we found is important. And by the way, the why about analytics, if you're not in sports but you happen to be in a business or in public sector or somewhere else, the same why applies to why you should apply analytics. So what about how? Well, the first one is a real no-brainer, and you may think, stay relevant. What does that mean? Well, in sports especially, it's a lot of fun and a lot of entertainment in bringing out stats. A colleague of mine, Mikael Johansson, who's here in the room, he told me, there's a player in England, football player, when he scores a goal, which he does, not all the time, but every now and then, when he scores a goal, the day after, a famous person in England always dies. Is it interesting? Yes. Is it entertaining? Well, it could be yes. Is it amusing? A little bit. But is it relevant for winning games? Probably not. So let's take a real simple example. Face-offs. Face-offs in hockey? You know what it is, right? The referee drops the puck. You try to get it to your team. And it's important to have the puck. Because if I have the puck, I can score. If you have the puck, you can score on me. So we want the puck. And you may know, if you follow hockey at least a little bit, that they always check on what are the percentages of your players taking face-offs. A real basic example, there's usually a general number that everybody knows. When Frölunda Indians play, Joel Lundqvist has a 61% or 59% face-off. The thing is, if you really look at it, the face-off percentages for every player in the league is going to be different in different circles. So if this is my goal, this is a player, this is a real player, and it looks like this for most of them. They've got different numbers in different circles. What does that mean? If you understand this, you know that, well, if we have a face-off on the right-hand side on the defense, we're going to win about 1 or 2. This player's going to win 1 out of every 2. But if you're on the left, he's only going to win about 1 or 3. That's highly relevant when you want to make a choice to understand what performance is going to yield us a good result in the end. Very simple example. So I want to say be relevant and visualize the findings so you understand what are we really looking at. Fit the process. We've been touching this already. Analytics is not something you do over on the side. And if you're a sports team, you say, well, let's put one analytics guy over there and he can feed us with some information. You have to understand, how do we select players? When we play a game, how do we evaluate the game? How do we prepare for practice? What do we do with the results when we've measured and evaluated our practice to put it into real work in the game? Fit the process, and finally, build a team. We've been talking about this also. You've got to have a team of people, and just recently you said that. You've got to have people doing what they're best at, and you need management support to do this. This is not a one-man exercise. So when we're talking about how, remember those things. Be relevant, visualize, fit the process, and have a team. And by the way, if you're in a business and not in sports, the same things for how to apply analytics in your organization applies. So what do you need in the end? What do you really need to become an analytics-driven sports organization? And the ones we've worked with, it turns out it's about 2 things. It's about competence. And we've talked about this: skill sets, data skills, analytical skills, communication skills, and of course, domain knowledge about sport. What is relevant? You get those 4 together, that's what you need. And then you need what we at SAS call an analytics platform. So what is that? Well, it's really about getting data in all sizes and shapes and formats, fast streaming and slow moving, to be able to handle that, to apply analytics on top of it so that you understand the results that you're looking at. So really, if you're looking at, you can always view the results. The reporting around results is not that hard. Everybody can see that. The trick is to have the analytics behind it that can explain the results. That's what the Great Britain Olympic rowing team works on. That's what Nick Lidstrom worked on. That's what every team that's serious about this works on, understanding the relation between performance and the results. And today, we're here for you. My name is Bodell. I work for SAS, but there's 5 of us. I think you can actually stand up in the room. We've got a booth over in the corner, and we're passionate about talking about analytics and how it helps us understand how the performance will, in the end, give us the best results. So thank you very much.